Hi there, welcome to a series of videos called English for Emerson. Today we are talking about accountability, and the thumb tag, or whatever they call it, the thumbnail on this video is the final bill. What does it mean to be accountable? That's a good word, accountability or accountable. I think the easiest way to look at it is, what's the final bill that's going to be due on this whatever thing that you're dealing with or you're doing? What's the final bill going to be? You know, the bill always keeps going up. The final bill keeps going up. What the heck am I even talking about today? Well, that's a good question, but I'll just take the example of my hometown, Portland, Oregon. You know, if you follow the news, you know that this city maybe 20 years ago was considered one of the fastest growing and most kind of hip and cool cities in America. And it's got a bunch of unique features to it that made it really had a lot going for it. Geographically, in terms of being close to the ocean and the mountains and all this, and the rivers and everything, it had a lot going for it. You know, on the West Coast between California and Seattle, it had a unique demographic in terms of the population out there on the West Coast, kind of isolated and insulated from some of the problems in the rest of the country to a certain extent. Low crime, relatively highly educated population compared to the rest of the country. It didn't have a lot of the problems that you have elsewhere in some ways. A lot of people started to move there. There was a lot of tech jobs. But it had this whole thing out there of the politics. It was the Achilles heel of Portland. It was the politics. It's been run by Democratic, far left politicians out there my entire life. I'm going to be 55 this year, in 2026. And, you know, the population that moved out there and that got educated out there became more and more and more radically, politically left wing. In fact, it's it's gone past the left wing out there now. I don't even know what wing it is. But what's the final bill of all this radical left wing politics? Well, the city is going downhill. It's like the policies don't work. And everybody knows that they don't work. But to really admit it and to decide we're going to totally change our course would be a very, very costly decision. People would have to elect new leaders. They'd have to change curriculums in schools. They'd have to change their personal belief systems about life. It's extremely costly to admit that you're wrong and to cut away things that don't work, beliefs and policies and behaviors. It's very hard to do this for an individual. It's very, very hard to do it as a town. It's hard to do it as a country. It's painful. But what's the final bill? Nobody knows what the final bill will be in Portland, Oregon. Right now, it's a city that's going downhill and going downhill fast. High crime, high levels of dysfunction, declining values of properties downtown. These are all bills that are coming due. But what's the final bill going to be? Well, the final bill, who really knows what's going to happen? But until the cost is is paid, until the pain is really fully felt and changes are made, the final bill will just keep increasing. And it's like this with everything in life. Listen, that's what accountability is. The bill keeps increasing. The final bill keeps increasing. The longer you don't pay the bill, the longer you go without making positive changes or getting rid of things that don't work, the final bill increases. So what I'm trying to say in this video is that it's very, very hard to take losses early in relationships, in employment, in decisions. It's very difficult to accept that things have been a bad decision or a bad policy or a bad behavior or a bad relationship. It's difficult to cut things away early and take account of the situation and see the bill and just pay it off and walk away if things are not working. Because if you don't, the final bill keeps going higher and higher and higher and higher, and eventually, you see it all the time with people. They are destroyed by their bad decisions completely, either financially or mentally or physically. Tremendous number of people are in horrible physical health because they don't take bad behaviors in terms of their lifestyle choices into account, and the final bill just keeps getting higher. I see it every day in the people that I deal with. It's very sad, actually, and I see it in certain areas of my own life. This is what accountability is. Count up what the bills are that are due for our behaviors and our decisions and our choices. And if if the bill keeps going up and gets greater and greater and greater, it's like you have to think about, what's the final bill going to be on this? There's a lot of things going on like that in life right now on this earth. Think about climate change. There's a lot of people who still deny that it's happening. They deny, oh no, the climate's not changing. Well, it's proven that the parts per billion of carbon in the atmosphere and in the sea have risen dramatically. What's the final bill going to be for not limiting the use of fossil fuels and moving to a different kind of energy source? And I'm not saying that there aren't costs to those things either. I'm just saying, what's the final bill going to be? Is it going to be extinction of life on planet Earth? Maybe, I don't know. But there's going to be a final bill incurred. It's accountability. It's basic accountability. What's the final bill going to be in terms of what's going on with Russia and Ukraine? I mean, Russia is a country that's run by a criminal mafia who terrorizes and stirs up strife and trouble all over the world. They're blowing the hell out of Ukraine right now, losing a great number of their own people, being sanctioned and cut off from most of the entire world, and now terrorizing Europe with a bunch of hybrid warfare tactics. But nobody really does much about it. Yes, there's these economic sanctions, and they're fairly effective, but the more that it's allowed to go on and basically kick the can down the road, instead of really doing something about this leader in Russia named Vladimir Putin. What's the final bill going to be for society with that? I mean, you think about climate change and pollution. Think of all the greenhouse gases that are released by all these explosions and oil refineries being blown up and fuel depots and buildings that are being blown up, all the amount of greenhouse gases that have to be produced to make all the new concrete and rebar and everything that's going to be needed to rebuild all those buildings. I mean, it's just absolutely astronomical cost in human and lives and environmental damage. Just because of what they've been doing in that war, I think over 90% of the dolphins in the Black Sea have been killed because of all the electronic warfare and everything that's going on in the Black Sea. It's wiped out an entire ecosystem. What's the final bill going to be from allowing this guy over the course of 25 years, Vladimir Putin, basically a psychopath, to run a country and essentially now running it into the ground who knows, for humanity with the potential for nuclear warfare, because nobody really wanted to deal with it. They wanted the guy's cheap oil and gas, and they didn't want to face up to the fact that he was a murderer and a thug and a psychopath. I know I'm kind of going on and on and on in this video, and it's a stream of consciousness thing, but the point of the video is you got to look at things that you're doing in your life. Like, tattoos are really popular right now, which God knows why, but people are getting them all over their faces and necks and hands and arms. What's the final bill for that tattoo? If you can't get a decent job for your whole life because your body, people don't want to hire you. People don't, just in terms of your relationships and everything, what's the final bill going to be on that tattoo that you spent $500 on? Could add up to hundreds of thousands of dollars over the course of a lifetime. What's the final bill that comes due for a lifetime of smoking? Or eating junk food? Or having an overpriced coffee every day? What's the final bill? We all are accountable for our decisions day after day after day. And one way of looking at things in terms of making a decision about what we're going to do at any time in our life is to think, what is the final bill going to be for this? That's accountability.